Y News. The number of poll-related deaths climbs to 33 according to the Philippine National Police. Insufficient special voting precincts made voting difficult for senior citizens. And some voters were not able to cast votes today after not seeing their names in the voters list.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. Some voters were not able to cast their votes today after not seeing their names in the voters list, while some polling precincts posted non-updated voters list which contain names of deceased individuals. Grace Casin tells us why.
Like the usual problem voters encounter every election day, some had not seen their names in voters list and polling precincts, prompting them to just go home. In Payatas B in Quezon City earlier, the lines of voters looking for their names and precinct numbers in voters list have gotten too long. Some of them were wondering why their names were not in the voters list as they never skip voting every election.
Hindi makita ang pangalan. Wala naman ako napagtanungan. Sabi doon hanapin lang daw. Inikot ko na ng inikot. Wala naman.
Wala po yung mga pangalan ng mga nandiyan po yung present pero yung pangalan nila sa nakalista wala. Pahirap po talaga sa putante. Kasi po lalo nang ganito may trabaho pa mamaya.
Voters in some province also experienced the same predicament. Meanwhile, in Barangay Holy Spirit in Quezon City, the voters list were not updated. Some of the names in the lists were long been dead.
Meron isa nagkiklaim, yung asawa niya nakaboto buhay, last election, wala ngayon. Pero yung tatay niya, 8 taon nang patay, nandun yung pangalan.
Some senior citizens also had difficulty going upstairs to their precinct, as there was no assigned special precinct for elderly and persons with disability.
Sana'y magkaroon ng priority para hindi naman kami masyadong nahihirapan.
Gusto namin sa baba na lang para dili kami mahirapan pag akyat baba. Kasi pumunta na ako sa likod, wala rin.
Distribution of sample ballots was prevalent in Commonwealth Elementary School amid a strict prohibition of the Commission on Elections. In Barangay San Bartolome in Quezon City, the voting ended early. Before 3 in the afternoon, there were almost no lines of voters. The canvassing in Barangay Holy Spirit in Quezon City started early due to a low voter turnout. Only 30 to 50% of the registered voters casted their votes today. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The number of poll-related deaths climbs to 33 according to the Philippine National Police. Meanwhile, the PNP has intensified this evening the security measures it enforces for Board of Election Tellers. Mon Ocson is in the PNP headquarters to tell us why live. Yes, Mon, go ahead.
Yes, Darlene, of 47 incidents of violence, 33 were killed since the election campaign period started, according to the Philippine National Police or PNP. PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde said of the recorded 47 incidents, 7 are confirmed election-related. Aside from the 33 deaths, the PNP also recorded 16 injuries and 22 individuals who were involved in turmoil but unharmed. As of now, there are 75 identified suspects of the said incident. 6 of them have already been arrested. Albayalde said the said figures are lower than in 2013, where there were 109 victims of 57 violent incidents.
To sa atin ng ating presidente is to make this election safe and clean. So I think that is very simple and that is very understandable.
Meanwhile, the PNP chief conducted security inspection in some areas in Metro Manila. He first inspected the Pineda Elementary School in Pasig that had the most number of poll-related violence last year. Afterwards, Albayalde inspected the Batasan Elementary School in Quezon City that had the highest number of registered voters in the country. Albayalde also went to the biggest barangay in the country, the Barangay Bagong Silang in Caloocan. The PNP chief last inspected the Baclaran Elementary School in Parañaque to check on its preparedness and if there were sufficient number of cops deployed in the area. Based on the information UNTV gathered from police stations, a man was arrested in Taguig due to vote buying. The PNP chief vowed to intensify the security measures it implements for Board of Election tellers. Albayalde also said he will implement a one-strike policy among his men.
Well, for sure, sigurado yung pagka-relieve ng mga commander, no? Kung talagang nakita natin. Yung unang-una, yung responde, yung response time, kung mabagal at na-underestimate yung kanilang lugar, na alam naman nila na medyo critical yung area at hindi rin na-deployan ng enough personnel yung lugar na yon.
Darlene, the PNP has already deployed more than 1,000 cops who served as replacement of some BETs. An example of this is in Mindanao, where some BET withdrew and were replaced by police officers. And that's the latest here in Camp Crame. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Monokson, reporting live from the PNP headquarters. Meanwhile, authorities implement a strict security measure in the wake of former La Union Congressman Eufranio Erigel in his home in Barangay Santa Barbara, Agoo, La Union. Erigel was shot while making his speech at a meeting de avance of the candidates he is campaigning for last Saturday. This incident caused fears among residents in the area, resulting in a low turnout of voters in Capas Integrated School. The Department of Education Task Force Operation and Monitoring Center classifies Election Day as generally peaceful in the election day. Here's why from Mai Bermudez live. Yes, Mai, go ahead.
Yes, Darlene, good evening. It's so far so good here at the Election Task Force Operation and Monitoring Center as vote counting continues in more than 177,000 polling precincts around the country for this year's Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Although there are some reports of harassments in several areas in Metro Manila and several provinces in the Philippines, the Election Task Force said that they have only received one report where there was a change of poll clerk and third member in the league.
Individuals who got involved are not teachers but are registered voters. However, their hotlines receive calls such as concerns from voters who complain about their missing names in polling centers. But the task force admits there are also complaints from teachers who haven't received their transportation allowances and delays in transmission of election paraphernalia. In terms of the receipt of the compensation of teachers or Board of Election tellers, DepEd assures that those who served in today's elections should have gotten
their transportation allowances by 5 p.m. or earlier, and honorarias will be received 15 days after the election day. Let's hear it from Attorney Mark Bragado of the Election Task Force Operation and Monitoring Center.
Na po pwede pong ma-reimburse ng ating mga teachers na nag-serve sa electoral board yung mga tax na nabawas sa kanilang mga honoraria. Starting 5:01 p.m. this afternoon and 15 days thereafter, magkakalaman na yung cash card na yun.
May call the hotlines of DepEd Command Center, one of which is 633-7205, where individuals may air their concerns or those which they encounter in polling centers or some election-related violence in their areas. And those were the live updates here in Pasig City. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Mai Bermudez reporting live from Manila. Authorities have yet to determine the motives on the ambush of Daan Bantayan Mayor Vicente Loot. Gladys Tuwabi is in Cebu City to tell us why live. Yes, Gladys.
Yes, good evening, Darlene. The Cebu Provincial Police Office has formed a special investigation task group to focus on the investigation on the ambush that happened to Mayor Vicente Luot, the Daan Bantayan Cebu mayor, which happened yesterday in Barangay Maya, Daan Bantayan Cebu, Newport, Roro. The mayor has been given security detail to ensure his and his family's safety. According to the report, the ambush happened when Luot, along with his family, just docked from Malapascua Island to attend an event. Luot has been mentioned by President Rodrigo Duterte as one of those involved in the illegal drug trade, but this has been denied by the mayor. Meanwhile, there are no major problems that has been reported in Central Visayas on this year's barangay and SK elections, aside from the shooting incident that happened earlier this dawn, where a father of an SK candidate got injured in Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu. As of now, the authorities are still investigating the motive of the incident. The Police and Commission on Elections Region 7 are hoping that the elections will end peacefully and successfully today. Approximately 70 to 80% of voters in Central Visayas have already voted since last morning until 3 p.m. this afternoon. According to the Commission on Elections Region 7, Acting Regional Director Attorney Veronica Pitalcoren, they have not received any major complaint by our voters aside from the needed assistance for our senior citizen. And that's the latest here in Cebu. Darlene?
Thank you, Gladys Tuwabi, reporting live from Cebu. Sangguniang Kabataan officials won't be taking office unless they undergo a mandatory training under the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Around 300,000 youth from over 40,000 barangays will be elected as new members of the Sangguniang Kabataan or SK. But before they can take office, they must undergo a mandatory training under the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG. In an interview in the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon this morning, DILG Assistant Secretary Jonathan Malaya said the training is a requirement for all SK officials.
Kung hindi niya natapos, kailangan kumpletohin niya yung modules namin para makaupo siya.
Meaning to say, it will remain vacant.
It will remain vacant.
Until such time na nakumpleto niya na. He will be required. Kumpletohin mo yan. Kung kailan mo yan makumpleto, kung umabot na isang taon, dahil doon ka palang pwedeng umupo.
Exactly. It's his responsibility na tapusin yun.
The one-week mandatory training will be held in state colleges and universities. During the training, the SK officials will be monitored. Upon completion of the training, an elected SK official will receive a certificate. Meanwhile, the National Youth Commission or NYC plans to monitor the projects to be implemented by the new SK officials.
Hindi na pwede yung dating mga proyekto ng mga SK na paliga lang, pa-beauty contest, yung mga house plate numbers, di ba sir? Outing, lakbay-aral, pero bakasyon lang naman.
The NYC will push for better and more active programs and projects for SK officials, including those related to disaster response and anti-drugs and anti-crime campaigns. The NYC will also recommend to the DILG the suspension of SK officials who will be found irresponsible and negligent of their duties. The Commission also plans to present the newly elected youth leaders to President Rodrigo Duterte.
Ngayon, meron tayong nire-recommenda po sa National Youth Commission, ipapasa namin na sa resolution na lahat ng magiging SK official sa buong bansa ngayon ay mag-ceremonial oath-taking, mass oath-taking kay Pangulo po.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
A candidate for barangay chairman in Pasay City claimed there were illegal voters in their barangay. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The former village chief of Barangay 194 in Pasay City tried to block 5 voters from casting their votes. Engineer Felicismo Ernesto, who is making a comeback bid, claimed they were illegal voters. They were identified as Christian Reyes, Alvin Verangel, Marvin Encabo, Mark Angelo Sevilla, and Ani Pagangpang.
Kasi nakita ko talaga ito, para bang napakaraming nakarehistro na hindi taga roon sa amin. Siyempre, sa pagiging barangay chairman ko ng 3 termino, kilala ko halos ang lahat ng tao doon.
One of the voters admitted she is not a resident of Barangay 194. She said she is now residing in Sucat, Parañaque but she was previously able to register in the barangay. She noted the identification card she used was fake.
Yung kapitbahay po sa kamag-anak din po ng asawa ko, sabi magparehistro daw kami. Dito daw sa Caldera meron. Adi sumama nung po ako kasi kung mainam ngayon kasi malapit, lilipat na lang ako.
But Barangay Chairwoman Lydia Abrera said Ernesto is just scheming because he is really coveting the position.
15 years nakaupo yan. Walang project yan. All ghost project.
According to Attorney Ramil Comendador, the city's 1st District Election Officer, the 5 were able to register in 2016 because they successfully complied with the requirements.
Ang rule dyan, since nakarehistro po sila at nanyan po sila sa aming listahan at hindi pa nandi-deactivate for whatever reasons po, pabubutuhin sila unless ma-challenge sila doon sa loob ng polling place.
4 of the voters were able to cast their votes. Other voters affirmed they are indeed residents of the barangay. Despite this, Ernesto's camp is determined to lodge formal complaints. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Y News will be right back. I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Angelo, Castro III. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, the Commission on Elections recorded incidents of vote buying during the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections earlier. The Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard will lead another historic event as it unfolds tomorrow at the Philippine Rise. The Ombudsman Graft Busters gives the Malacanang PSV a taste of its second loss in the UNTV Cup off-season games, while the Judiciary Magis enters the win column. Good evening. Some senior citizens had a hard time today as there were insufficient special voting precincts. Joanano will tell us why.
Wala. Kaya paano ba yan? Ano bang gagawin ko dito? Pagod na ako. Baligo na ako sa pawis.
Ayaw na yata kami pagbutuhin.
Some senior citizens were dismayed in Barangay Batasan Hills, Quezon City earlier today. They said a system of voting was unruly in President Corazon Aquino Elementary School. Noli Rubas, 75, said she fell in line even before the school gates opened so she could cast her votes early. But 10 a.m. came, she still could not find her name in the voting precinct. Even 87-year-old Romualdo Adivino complained after looking for his name in the 3 school buildings, yet he could not find his voting precinct.
Nahilo ako, kaya nga umupo na lang ako. Pinahanap ko sa pamangkin ko. Wala na ang pangalan.
Kanina pa paikot-ikot, galing na kami sa bagong building, wala rin. Sabi, mga senior citizen, dito na sa baba. Pagpunta namin dyan, akit pa rin kami sa 4th floor.
Despite having designated special room for senior citizens and person with disability in President Corazon Aquino Elementary School, there are still some senior citizens who voted in the 2nd and 3rd floor of the building just to cast their vote. Since some are disappointed, they decided to not vote and just went home. Meanwhile, if some found it hard to vote, there are some senior citizens who easily cast their vote.
Okay lang kasi na-exercise ako, akyat manaog, nakuha ko rin. Hindi. Kasi nandoon kagad ang pangalan ko.
Hindi naman mahirap. Nahanap mo anak ng apo ko agad.
They only complained of having a difficulty in writing and reading since they are already old. The school principal admitted the problems during election but argued that they are doing their best effort to make the system in order. On the other hand, casting of votes in Barangay Valencia, Quezon City was done along the road instead of usual classrooms. Dr. Elenita Santos Cordoves, the OIC principal of Camp Crame National High School, said there is no available public school, neither government facility that they could able to use as a venue where they could hold the election. If before they were using their barangay hall as a venue for election, they cannot hold it there anymore as it is now too small to accommodate the big number of registered voters.
Dati po, less than 1,000 lang po yung mga botante nila. Pero ngayon po, nasa 3,705. Kung papapasukin po natin yung 3,705 na yun sa loob, wala talagang mapagpupwestuhan.
Despite announcements, there are still some voters who failed to come to the voting precincts to meet the 3 p.m. deadline. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
A peaceful election was observed on all poll centers in Western Visayas as there was no recorded major election-related incident in the region, according to the Regional Task Group of COMELEC, PNP, and the AFP. Police Regional Office 6 added that the crime incident in the region even decreased. From Iloilo City, Vincent Arboleda will tell us why live. Go ahead, Vincent.
Just leaving Diego. Generally peaceful with no major election-related incident. This was the statement of Acting Regional Director of COMELEC Region 6, Attorney Tomas Valera, during a press conference held earlier at Camp Martin Delgado here in Iloilo City. Peace and order was also observed even on the 135 barangays labeled as election hotspots and areas where there is a presence of NPA rebel group.
Simula ng 7, tapos na ng 3, and with no report of untoward incident. So, smooth, make sure.
Western Visayas Police Regional Director Cesar Hawthorne Binag added that as of 4 p.m., the number of recorded crime incidents in the region even decreased to just 2 today as compared to the daily average of 9 in Western Visayas. According to Binag, other than the well-coordination of COMELEC, the PNP, and the AFP, the public cooperation and peace covenants initiated by the candidates in all municipalities and cities in the region contributed in the conduct of a peaceful election. The Western Visayas region have a total of 3,751 polling centers secured by more than 8,000 police and army personnel. According to the 7 p.m. report of the Regional Joint Security Council Conference, canvassing has started to more than 13,000 clustered precincts in the region. Should the canvassing extend to late in the evening or should a loss of electricity occur in the following areas, Binag said the combined forces of the PNP and AFP are ready to ensure the safety of the Board of Election Inspectors, canvassers, and the public, including the election paraphernalia, to maintain the orderly and peaceful barangay and SK election today in the region. And that's the latest live here in Iloilo City. That's you, Diego.
Thank you for that report. Vincent Arboleda reporting live from Iloilo City. President Rodrigo Duterte plans to implement land reform in the provinces of Mindanao, Lanao del Norte, and Lanao del Sur. Duterte also ordered Presidential Advisor on OFWs and Muslim concerns, Secretary Abdullah Mamao, to hold talks with members of the Maute terror group who want to surrender to the government. Joanano will tell us why.
3 Maute group members who surrendered to the government were presented to President Rodrigo Duterte in Marawi last Friday. They received livelihood assistance. Overall, 27 members of the ISIS-inspired Maute group have surrendered to the government since the clashes in Marawi ended. In his speech, the president vowed to give Marawi City back to the Maranaos. Duterte also tasked Presidential Advisor on OFWs and Muslim Concerned Secretary Abdullah Mamao to hold talks with the members of the Maute group who want to surrender to the government. This after one of the surrenderers claimed that some of the remaining Maute members want to surrender. The president also ordered Secretary Mamao to study the possibility of granting amnesty to the former Maute members. But Duterte also warned the terror group not to form an allegiance with the New People's Army. Aside from this, the president also vowed to distribute to the poor the lands in Mindanao. Duterte said he plans to implement land reform in Maguindanao, Lanao del Norte, and Lanao del Sur. The president tasked Special Assistant to the President Secretary Bongo to ensure the conduct of a comprehensive land survey in Marawi City. This included the division of land that would be distributed to the Maranaos and tribal communities. The president said the government is ready to provide tractors so the land in Mindanao can be planted with rubber trees and palm oil. The chief executive also plans to send the surrenderers to Malaysia and Indonesia to study the latest technologies in palm oil plantation. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard will lead another historic event as it unfolds tomorrow at the Philippine Rise. Victor Cosare tells us why.
Around 140 divers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard will join the historic hoisting of the Philippine flag in the Philippine Rise for the second time. 9 technical divers will assist in the planting of the flag on a part of the Benham Bank, the shallowest part of the Philippine Rise. The flag was made of fiberglass with a foundation cement.
Meron tayong siyam na technical diver na magdadive din sa pinaka-partner natin, sir. So far, so good, sir, yung preparation natin. We're waiting na lang sa mga divers natin na nasa Apeco pa ngayon.
2 members of the UNTV dive team will join in the flag hoisting. One of them is technical diver Luis Heredia.
This year, the dive should be a little bit shallower than last year. Last year was 60 meters. The structure was submerged. And this year is even better because the hoisting of the flag is just ready to go.
The UNTV dive team will use a sophisticated camera in documenting the activity underwater.
Very high resolution. We have some monster lights also. Why do we need to put lights? The visibility is perfect. You can also see the corals from the top to 60 meters.
Earlier, the Philippine Navy held a dry run in the docked BRP Davao del Sur. This is to help in the implementation of security for the arrival of President Rodrigo Duterte tomorrow. It was in June 2017 when the first flag hoisting was held in Benham Bank alongside the commemoration of Independence Day. The hoisting of the Philippine flag in the Philippine Rise signifies the country's recognition of the area as under its jurisdiction. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Some known personalities voted early today. President Rodrigo Duterte, however, was not able to vote. Grace Cassin will tell us why.
At exactly 10 in the morning, when presidential daughter and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio arrived at the Daniel R. Aguinaldo National High School to cast her votes. The mayor voted for more or less 5 minutes in Castro Precinct 889. She said the conduct of the election in Davao City was peaceful and orderly. Duterte Carpio said the teachers assigned as Board of Election Inspectors were also very efficient. Meanwhile, at around 12 in the afternoon, Special Assistant to the President Christopher Bongo arrived at the Buhangin Central Elementary School. He was not able to enter his cluster precinct immediately as his supporters welcomed him. While the supporters of President Rodrigo Duterte failed to personally see him since he was not able to vote. The bell signaling the closing of the voting already rang, and the president did not come. With this, the chair the president was supposed to use was immediately removed. In a tentative schedule, the president will have an appointment at around 7 in the evening in Malacanang. Vice President Lenny Robredo cast her votes early in Tobacco Elementary School in Naga. She arrived at 10 in the morning with her daughter Trisha. The vice president regularly casts her votes in the said school. At past 11 in the morning, former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III arrived at the Central Azucarera de Tarlac Elementary School to cast his votes. He was with his siblings Balsi and Pinky. Like ordinary citizens, the former president also fell in line. In Bulacan, at past 7 in the morning, Senator Joel Villanueva cast his vote in Barangay Bunlo Elementary School in Bukawi, Bulacan. At around 11 in the afternoon, Mr. Public Service Kuya Daniel Razon arrived at the Kalumpang Elementary School in Kalumpit, Bulacan to cast his votes. Residents welcomed him warmly as he was known in the barangay as someone who regularly helped others. Kuya Daniel said one of the most important traits a barangay official should have is being God-fearing.
Ang primary na pinaka magandang katangian ng kahit na signo pa man, no? Hindi lang ng isang kandidato, hindi ng lahat ng tao. Primarily naniniwala sa Diyos at may pagkatakot sa Diyos. Pero marami kasing marami kasing nakapaloob dun eh. Hindi naman basta sinabi mo lang na ganun, yun na yun.
Kuya Daniel added that a public servant should also be kind and have genuine concern for his and her constituents. Mr. Public Servant also said he is always ready to offer a helping hand for the welfare of his fellow residents in the barangay. Grace Cassin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Judiciary Magis enters the win column in the UNTV Cup Executive Face-Off. Meanwhile, the Malacanang PSG faced its second loss in the off-season games. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
The Ombudsman Grapbusters stunned the Malacanang PSC Camao in yesterday's first game at the Pasig City Sports Center, 76-57. The Grapbusters was led by the best player of the game, Director Nicky Laure, who made 19 points and 11 rebounds. Ombudsman head coach Ricky Alcantara said his side prepared thoroughly for these off-season games.
Ang ginawa namin talagang twice a week and practice. Saka may mga pocket tournament kami sinasalihan right now. Saka nagkakaroon kami ng aqua training right now talaga. Talagang yung conditioning talaga yung pinagandaan ko.
Despite the Palace Hoopsters' second loss, Special Assistant to the President's Secretary Bongo bucketed 25 points, grabbed 2 boards, made 1 assist and 1 steal.
No excuses po, talo talaga kami. Medyo hindi pasado magkakilala nga. Halo-halo to composite to, merong PACC, merong Navy. Pangalawa, importante, nakapag-ensayo. Masarap makalaro yung mga iba-ibang executive, mga halos kaedad namin. Bawi na lang po kami next time.
And in the second game, the Judiciary Magis entered the win column after toppling the DOJ Justice Boosters.
Kulang talaga kami sa ensayo. So we started practicing mga 1 week before the opening So nakapag-practice kami siguro twice lang. So tingin ko yun yung conditioning yung naging problema. From first to second, okay kami. Pagdating na ng third to fourth, medyo kinapos na. Hindi na pumapasok yung tira namin.
Joey Yabut, who made 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 1 assist, was hailed as the best player of the game. According to Magis coach Warren Ibanez, they prepared well for the game, particularly in the defense department.
Pinagandaan namin yung depensa. Sinabi ko sa kanila na pag may open shot kayo, tumira lang kayo kasi marami tayong rebounder.
Practice lang, medyo sinuwerte ng bandang huli, kaya pumasok. Nakuha namin rebounds. Swerte lang, swerte.
Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Good evening. Here are the top stories on Y News Tonight. The Commission on Elections recorded some incidents of vote buying during the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections earlier. The poll body also said some of the winning candidates may not be immediately proclaimed. Aiko Miguel is in Manila to tell us why live. Yes, good evening, Aiko.
William, good evening. The assessment and the voter turnout after the barangay and SK elections today is still being presented by the poll body and its partner agencies like DILG and the Philippine National Police. But earlier today, William, during the elections, there were reports and incidents of vote buying in some areas. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, said some candidates employed various strategies to buy votes during the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan polls earlier. The latest report of vote buying incident that the COMELEC received is from the province of Aklan. The suspect was caught with 10 envelopes containing 300 pesos each and sample ballots with names of complete slate of barangay and SK candidates.
Nung binuksan yung bag, puno ng pera. So that person was taken to the task force office at pinoproseso siya. Hinihintay namin na masubmit ang pangalan nung involved for an election offense.
Aside from Aklan, the Philippine National Police, or PNP, also received incidents of vote buying in several areas in Metro Manila and some provinces.
In other parts of the country, especially sa 4A, may naaresto dyan na 8 because of vote buying activities. So one in Lucena, I think in Calamba and Palawag. Just recently, isa dito suspected vote buying activity sa may Taguig.
COMELEC reminded voters to report any vote-buying incident to hold liable candidates committing such a fraud. Based on the Omnibus Election Code, a candidate caught committing vote-buying will not be automatically disqualified. The poll body vows to immediately oust any candidate proven to have committed vote-buying.
File them directly sa COMELEC so we can quickly act on those complaints.
Meanwhile, voting was delayed in other parts of the country, but despite this, COMELEC did not extend voting hours in the said areas. COMELEC Acting Chairman Al Pareño said there are some 1,000 winning candidates who might not be proclaimed today. Rather, that's 639 to the latest count. This is because some SK candidates are already beyond the requirement age of 24 years old, while some barangay poll candidates ran in areas where they are not even residents. William, winning candidates whose names are in the government's narco list will not be immediately disqualified until proven guilty of the accusations. The voting hours has already ended and polling precincts closed at exactly 3 in the afternoon. The counting of votes in more than 42,000 barangays across the country is almost done, except in areas of Region 8. According to Comelec William, almost all polling precincts have finished the counting of votes. The Armed Forces of the Philippines have said the conduct of these barangay and SK elections have been generally successful and peaceful, and there were no major untoward incidents which occurred in barangays. In addition, the voter turnout's impression is good, and they are still validating the data on this matter. The last press con for today, William, is still ongoing, and updates are still presented by Comelec and other government agencies. And that is the latest live. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Aiko Miguel, live from the Comelec Command Center in Manila. Meanwhile, some voters were not able to cast votes today after not seeing their names in the voters' lists. Like the usual problem voters encounter every election day, some had not even seen their names in the voters' list at polling precincts in Quezon City, prompting them to just go home, as what happened in Barangay Payatas B.
Eh, di makita ang pangalan. Eh, wala naman ako napagtanungan. Eh, sabi doon hanapin lang daw. Eh, inikot ko na ng inikot. Wala naman.
Wala po yung mga pangalan ng mga Nandiyan po yung present, pero yung pangalan nila sa nakalista, wala. Pahirap po talaga sa putante. Eh, kasi po, lalo ng ganito, may trabaho pa ako mamaya.
Meanwhile, in Barangay Holy Spirit in Quezon City, the voters' lists were not updated. Some of the names in the list had long been dead. Meanwhile, distribution of sample ballots was prevalent in Commonwealth Elementary School amid the strict prohibition of the Commission on Elections. Some senior citizens were dismayed in Barangay Batasan Hills, Quezon City earlier today. They said the system of voting was unruly in President Corazon Aquino Elementary School.
Kanina paikot-ikot, galing na kami sa bagong building, wala rin. Sabi, mga senior citizen dito na sa ibaba. Pagpunta namin dyan, akit pa rin kami sa 4th floor.
Nahilo ako, kaya nga umupo na lang ako. Pinahanap ko sa pamangkin ko. Wala na ang pangalan.
Despite having designated special rooms for senior citizens and persons with disability in President Corazon Aquino Elementary School, there are still some senior citizens who voted in the 2nd and 3rd floor of the building just to cast their vote. Meanwhile, casting of votes in Barangay Valencia, Quezon City was done along the road instead of usual classrooms.
Dati po, less than 1,000 lang po yung mga botante nila. Pero ngayon po, nasa 3,705. Kung papapasukin po natin yung 3,705 na yun sa loob, wala talagang mapagpupwestuhan.
The number of poll-related deaths climbed to 33 since the election campaign period started, according to the Philippine National Police or PNP. PNP Chief PDG Oscar Albayalde said of the recorded 36 incidents, 7 are confirmed election-related. Aside from the 33 deaths, the PNP also recorded 19 injuries and 22 individuals who were involved in turmoil but unharmed. As of now, there are 75 identified suspects of the said incident. 6 of them had already been arrested. Albayalde said the figures are lower than in 2013, where there were 109 victims of 57 violent incidents.
Utos sa atin ng ating presidente is to make this election safe and clean. So I think that is very simple and that is very understandable.
Around 140 divers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and Philippine Coast Guard will join in the historic hoisting of the Philippine flag in the Philippine Rise for the second time. 9 technical divers will assist in the planting of a flag on a part of the Benham Bank, the shallowest part of the Philippine Rise. The flag was made of fiberglass with a foundation cement.
Diver na magdadive din sa pinaka-partner natin, sir. So far, so good, sir, yung preparation natin. Para waiting na lang sa mga divers natin na nasa Abeco pa ngayon.
2 members of the UNTV dive team will join in the flag hoisting. One of them is technical diver Luis Heredia.
This year, the dive should be a little bit shallower than last year. Last year was 60 meters. The structure was submerged. And this year is even better because the hoisting of the flag is just ready to go.
The UNTV dive team will use a sophisticated camera in documenting the activity underwater.
Very high resolution. We have some monster lights also. Why do we need to put lights? The visibility is perfect. You can also see the corals from the top to 60 meters.
The Ombudsman Graph Busters stunned the Malacañang PSC Kamao in yesterday's first game at the Pasig City Sports Center 76-57. The Graph Busters was led by the best player of the game, director Nicky Laure, who made 19 points and 11 rebounds. Ombudsman head coach Ricky Alcantara said his side prepared thoroughly for these off-season games.
Ang ginawa namin talagang twice a week kami nagka-practice. Saka may mga pocket tournament kami sinasalihan right now. Saka nagkakaroon kami ng aqua training right now talaga. Talagang yung conditioning talaga yung pinagandaan ko.
Meanwhile, the Judiciary Mages entered the win column after toppling the DILG Justice Boosters.
Practice lang, medyo sinuwerte ng bandang huli, kaya pumasok. Nakuha namin rebounds. Swerte lang, swerte.
There is no low-pressure area or LPA weather disturbance expected to enter or develop in the Philippine area of responsibility. The easterlies continue to be the dominant weather system in the country, affecting southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers will be experienced in Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Tension was high across Jerusalem, Gaza, and the West Bank as the United States opens its embassy in the contested city today. Israelis in Jerusalem were happy about the move, while Palestinians expressed disappointment. The Israeli military dropped leaflets and fired tear gas into Gaza early in the day, warning Palestinians to stay away from the border with Israel as protesters gathered for the pen-to-make day of a 6-week demonstration. Palestinian health officials reported that Israeli forces shot and killed at least 7 Palestinians during today's protests along the Gaza border. The official said at least 500 protesters were injured, at least 35 of them by live bullets. Meanwhile, Indonesian police had raised the alert level in Surabaya, the second largest city in the country. Myla Guevara tells us why.
A series of suicide bombings rocked Indonesia's Surabaya city on Sunday, which was followed by another one this morning. Sunday's bombers launched the attacks on 3 churches, killing 13 people with more than 40 others wounded. The perpetrators are believed to be members of the same family who carried out the attacks in rapid succession. Police said aside from the parents, also involved were 2 teenage boys and 2 young girls who blew themselves up with their mother. The police said Sunday's church bombings were linked to the deadly prison riot at a detention facility in Java last week and said they were all carried out by extremists. Following the deadly incident, attackers on motorcycle carried out suicide bombing today outside a police building also in Surabaya. The explosion injured 10 people, including 4 police officers. East Java Police said the blast occurred at around 9 in the morning at their police office.
Di Kota Surabaya terjadi penyerangan bom kendaraan roda 2 atau roda 4 kita akan masih melakukan penyelidikan karena masih baru. Kemudian kami memastikan bahwa ada korban dari anggota. Apakah itu luka ataukah meninggal dunia? Mohon rekan-rekan media menunggu karena kami masih berada di TKP, di lokus delikti. Demikian update kami, nanti akan kami sampaikan berikutnya. Tidak ada pertanyaan.
Indonesia's police chief said the suicide attack was carried out by a family of 5 that included an 8-year-old child. Police Chief Tito Carnavian said the family, riding on 2 motorbikes, blew themselves up at a checkpoint outside the police station. The young child survived and is now recovering. Myla Guevara, UNTV News and Rescue, Southeast Asia.
A song entry of a singer-actress was hailed as the weekly winner this month. Leslie Longbowen is back. Tell us why.
Everyone was amazed with the song entry of singer-actress Hazel Faith de la Cruz during last night's Song of Praise or ASOP weekly elimination round. It's not the first singing competition joined by Hazel, but for her, the concept of ASOP is unique.
I know a lot of people who write praise songs who don't know where to give it, where to get it published, where to have people listen to it. And this ASOP is the best opportunity for people to be shared the good word, the good music. And I really support that movement.
Hazel's entry titled Pananampalataya wins in the second weekly elimination of ASOP this May. Judges were also impressed by the composition of the young artist, sang by 14-year-old Darlene Vibares.
Yung topic very powerful, it's about faith, di ba? Maganda yung melody, wala akong masabi pang finals night.
Meron din ako ritong nakita ng mga golden lyrics na medyo cute. Yung bagyo man na nagwawala ay napatahan mo, paano pa kaya ang puso ko? Wow, di ba?
So I think the message here is, I think it's great. But overall, I love the song.
Hazel's composition defeated other entries composed by Eugenia Martin entitled Lifetime and God Has Me in Mind by Noni Ramos and P.A. Atienza. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, May 14, 2018. I am William Thio, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.